Before we start session 6, let me greet the officers of PAARL, our President, Ms. Sharon Samaniego, the Vice President, Kimberly Ann Soria, Ms. Olivia Aller, Ms. Badet, Ms. Ina, Doc Gia, Marivic Silencio, and Donna Labangon, and our ex-officio, Michael Morica. Good morning, everybody. For our sixth session and the first session for the second day, we have the following authors. Mr. Chrysler Aaron Miranda is a cum laude graduate of BLIS at the University of San Jose Recoletos and is earning his master's in Library and Information Science with Cebu Normal University. He is currently affiliated with the Vicente Soto Memorial Medical Center Cebu as Librarian 2 and as a Bliss faculty member at the University of San Jose Recoletos. He also serves as an associate editor of the International Journal of Decision Support Systems Technology, an editorial review board member at the International Journal of Library and Information Services, and as a reviewer to 3 other international research journals. He is a researcher with experience in presenting papers locally and internationally. His research interests include information literacy and instruction, library information resources and services, and with the LIS education. The second author is Ms. Mary Wislin Cole. She is a graduate of Bachelor of Library Information Science from the University of San Jose Recoletos and is pursuing her master's degree in Cebu Normal University. She is currently the assistant librarian and a part-time instructor at Cebu Technological University, Danao. The third author is Sir Irvin Dan Regidor. He's a graduate of Bachelor in Library and Information Science from the University of San Jose Carlos and is finishing his master's degree in Cebu Normal University. He is currently the Basic Education Librarian of Don Bosco Technical College, Cebu, and a part-time instructor at the Department of Psychology and Library and Information Science in University of San Jose Recoletos. Their topic, Information Literacy Pedagogy of Academic Librarians in Region 7 During the Pandemic, a Phenomenological Inquiry. Let us all welcome Mr. Chrysler Aaron Miranda, and let's give him a virtual round of applause.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. I'm Mary Wislin. I hope you're all doing well. On behalf of my co-authors, Chrysler Aaron Miranda and Irvin Dan Regidor, let me extend our warmest gratitude to our organizers of this National Summer Conference for giving us the opportunity to present our research. To our respondents, thank you for the information, time, and service that you have given to this research. Thank you also to our participants for joining us. Our research is titled Information Literacy Pedagogy of Academic Librarians in Region 7 During the Pandemic, a Phenomenological Inquiry. So in early March 2020, the novel coronavirus spread around the world, resulting in avoiding social gatherings and close contact with people. This has impacted the library by transitioning their services and programs online in a very short amount of time. And that includes information literacy programs. Information literacy is a program of libraries aimed to help the clients and users be acquainted with the library and be information literate. So this means that the content of the program is designed to develop their information literacy skills and According to the American Library Association, these information literacy skills include effectively identify the extent of the information needed, access and search for the needed information effectively and efficiently, evaluate information and its sources critically, incorporate selected information into one's knowledge base, use the information effectively to accomplish a specific purpose, and understand the economic, legal, and social issues surrounding the use of information, and access and use of information ethically and legally. Now, the way of teaching information literacy has evolved during the COVID-19 pandemic. Academic libraries are no longer bound to only educate the users through library instructions, as the mode of teaching has switched to distance learning and have developed innovative and creative ways to promote information literacy. So aside from using library websites, social media has opened new possibilities and new avenues for libraries to deliver information literacy education. Right? So even before the pandemic, libraries have been using it for promotion, marketing of library events, and even teaching information literacy skills, which just got more intensified during the pandemic. So college students increasingly use social media channels to access the information they need. Although search engines are still the most frequently used method of information retrieval, 95% of recent college graduates, they also use social media for this purpose. Despite the common use of these channels, students rarely think critically about the information they read, like, and share on social media. So enhancing the information literacy skills of the students have also been more important than ever because of the infodemic that happened along the pandemic. So infodemic, this is the overabundance of information, and that includes false or misleading information in digital and physical environments. So according to the World Health Organization, the infodemic causes confusion and risk-taking behaviors that can harm health. It also leads to mistrust in health authorities and undermines the public health response. An infodemic can intensify or lengthen outbreaks when people are unsure about what they need to do to protect their health and the health of people around them. So with growing digitization and expansion of social media and internet use, information can spread more rapidly. This can help to more quickly fill information voids, but can also amplify harmful messages. Okay, so there's also the battle between accurate and fake information, especially on online platforms. So we see a lot of these posts, whether it be about health, politics, celebrities, and more. So the digital age surely has affected news and cultural narratives. So identifying which is factual and authentic among the abundant information available online is still a struggle to some. To capture the complex problem of accurate and fake information, there are terms that are used to distinguish some of the posts that we see. There's the proliferation of misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. To differentiate the three, misinformation, this is the unintentional mistake, such as inaccurate photo captions, dates, statistics, translations, or when satire is taken seriously. So let's say that a person shared or posted an information thinking that these posts are true when in fact it is not. That is misinformation. So that is often rooted in the struggle of identifying which is authentic news or not. Disinformation, on the other hand, this is a fabricated or deliberately manipulated audio, visual, or content. So these are intentionally created conspiracy theories or rumors. They know that they are sharing inaccurate news, but they still continue to spread around social media platforms. And lastly, we have malinformation. This is the deliberate publication of private information for personal or corporate rather than the public interest. So this is based on reality, but it is used to inflict harm on a person, organization, or a country. So here are some examples. Okay, so the information that found at the left side of the picture, that contains the inaccurate information that is shared online. While the ones shown in the right side of the photos, they are the accurate ones. So we can observe how inaccurate posts are shared by pages or websites if they are exaggerated and they don't really have the credibility nor the proper references on where they got that post. So I'm going to show an example of a post that says here that garlic is the cure for coronavirus. So it says here that good news. Wuhan's coronavirus can be cured by 1 bowl of freshly boiled garlic water. So all Chinese doctors have proven its efficacy. Many patients have also proven this to be effective. So that's what the inaccurate post said. In the accurate information, so Lebanon's UN Twitter post said that garlic is a healthy food that has antimicrobial properties, but there is no concrete evidence that eating garlic can protect people from the novel coronavirus. So inaccurate postings like this are often dangerous because it leads to people believing that these kinds of homemade methods will be the cure for COVID-19. It also results in people not seeking proper medical care immediately. See how these authentic news are very important. So knowing these, libraries have been active in promoting information literacy during the pandemic. So in a study made by Gu and Wang in 2021, libraries have been using multi-platforms such as social media to boost online courses. Libraries have been innovating information literacy teaching models through online and offline integration and have been using real situations and needs as basis to expand opportunities and contents in teaching. So libraries have also been fighting fake news and misinformation, and they have been strengthening multi-party cooperation with different organizations. Right. So as information specialists and the ones delivering the information literacy programs personally, academic librarians have been coping up with the changes brought by the pandemic. So it is important to know their personal experiences in delivering information literacy education during the pandemic. And despite numerous quantitative studies focusing on libraries' information literacy instruction and practices, there is dearth literature focusing on the experience of librarians in delivering information literacy education during the pandemic. So with this, the purpose of the study is to fill that gap and explore and describe the lived experience and challenges encountered by academic librarians in Region 7 in teaching or promoting information literacy during the pandemic. The study also investigated how they teach or promote information literacy during the pandemic, the content or topics of their information literacy programs, the platforms that they used, and find out the different ways they promote or teach information literacy. For methods, the study employed the descriptive phenomenological study design to effectively capture the subjective experience of the participants. Purposive sampling was used to select the librarian participants from Region 7 who delivered or promoted information literacy programs or activities to their clients or the community where they belong in the pandemic setup. 11 participants were included using the principle of data saturation. Data was gathered through an online questionnaire with open-ended questions. Of course, necessary follow-up questions were asked to the participants whose answers were vague or were not able to properly answer the questions. The researchers decided to use an online questionnaire considering the preferences of the participants. So a thematic analysis was utilized to identify common themes in the data, topics, ideas, and patterns of meaning that came up repeatedly. Okay, so thank you everyone for listening. And now to proceed with the second part of the study, let me introduce to you my co-author, Mr. Irvin Dan Regidor.
So good morning, everyone, to all of the participants and the organizers of the 2022 PARL National Conference. Thank you very much, everyone, for inviting us. I am Irvin Dan Regidor, and I'll be discussing to you the second part of our study. Moving on to the second part of our presentation, I present to you the findings of the study. First is on how the library's information literacy education were affected during the pandemic. The pandemic has brought significant changes on how the library operates, from basic operation to how we cater our students or clients. In the case of information literacy programs, it required new approaches for effective delivery and tailor it to the needs of the clients in the pandemic setting. This required libraries and librarians to find new ways to conduct their information literacy program on different virtual platforms. According to the participants, students had a hard time transitioning from face-to-face to online platforms. It also affected the degree of participation and concentration of the students, especially with the problems in internet connectivity. These findings confirm those of Hereniato et al. In 2021 that it was challenging for students to familiarize themselves with the new educational platform. They understood that they are new to online learning, which made them realize the importance of being independent learners as they receive minimal supervision of their lecturers and less physical contact and discussion with their peers. In terms of librarians' experiences in teaching or promoting information literacy during the pandemic, almost all of the participants mentioned that it was challenging to teach or promote information literacy during the pandemic. But there were also a handful of them that stated that while it was challenging, it was also fulfilling at the same time. One participant said that it was fulfilling to still extend library service despite the challenges and restrictions brought by the pandemic. Another also said that venturing into an unconventional method of teaching information literacy while exploring and maximizing technology was exciting. These findings show resilience amidst the challenges brought by the pandemic. If it showed that librarians are capable of seeing the silver lining in a difficult and unfamiliar situation. The participants also encountered challenges while teaching or promoting information literacy during the pandemic. Almost all of them identified internet connectivity as a major problem. There were also others who were having a hard time because of technical errors while navigating new platforms. Problems on the long adjustment process with new platforms and the lack of competencies for teaching online were also mentioned. The nature of the online platforms and distance learning had also posed problems as there's less student interaction and there's no assurance that the students were really paying attention to the discussion, especially those with short attention span. The lack of manpower due to layoff or limited number of duty hours during the pandemic were also cited as a challenge by other participants. And the contents or topics included by the librarian participants from Region 7 in their information literacy programs during the pandemic include the following: how to use online resources, how to use electronic databases, citation and referencing, how to use library resources, new normal library services, educational topics and current events, types of information sources, search strategies, plagiarism and copyright, and how to evaluate sources. A participant also shared that aside from covering topics in the information literacy program, they ensure proper level of content per type of user. And the online platforms most used by the participants to promote or teach information literacy during the pandemic are Facebook and Zoom. Half of them used Google Meet. Other platforms were also used by the participants, including library websites, MS Teams, Gmail, Instagram, and YouTube. These findings are congruent with previous studies that libraries have maximized the use of social media, particularly Facebook, in providing and teaching information literacy during the pandemic. Video conferencing platforms such as Zoom and Google Meet remain the choice of the participants because of the ease of use and the free or low subscription requirements. The participants also tried creative ways to deliver information literacy education in the pandemic setting. These methods include creating videos that answered frequently asked questions and posting it to online platforms. E-talks where they invited different personalities in the university to share their expertise on various topics. Other respondents also used tutorial videos, vlogs, and podcasts. Organized webinars covering different information literacy topics and instructional videos. Infographics posted on social media platforms, real-time messaging to accommodate queries, posting daily updates through social media accounts, online orientation series, and the traditional library instruction program. A respondent also shared that they conduct information literacy instruction per level, from level 1 to level 5. Where level 1 is getting to know the library, covering different topics, including library services, library resources, staff, and facilities. With level 2, entitled Researching in Your Library, it discusses the different types of information sources, search strategies, gathering and evaluating information. With level 3, entitled Researching in the Library for specific programs where topics of copyright and plagiarism were discussed. With level 4, focusing on graduate research and the topics, including understanding peer-reviewed journals, is discussed. For level 5, for faculty, the use of library technology to facilitate teaching and research were discussed in this level. We also gathered data on the participants' realization based on their experience in teaching or promoting information literacy during the pandemic. First is on teaching or promoting information literacy. They realized that it's still possible to teach or promote information literacy virtually or in the pandemic setting. They thought that the pandemic provided opportunities to find new ways to promote information literacy, which they consider very important. They realized that information literacy program can empower, engage, and connect librarians with their users. However, they also found out that it's very hard to do sessions, especially if you are not an expert in computers, and that the information literacy program needed a total overhaul that must start with performing the appropriate needs assessment. Second is on the profession and the role of librarian in teaching or promoting information literacy. They realized that the librarian's role is more important than ever, especially during the pandemic. That our profession requires flexibility, and we successfully did it by maximizing the obstacles brought by the pandemic. That despite the challenges, we were able to seek alternatives to offer service to our users. They also added that we can make things possible with teamwork if we just invest your head, heart, and hand. The participants also brought up the things that we need to do moving forward. That we as librarians should be able to adapt and innovate so that we can continue to serve our patrons no matter what situations we are in. We have to continue promoting our library resources and services to help our clients with their research needs. That we should take this pandemic as an opportunity to do more, creative, and to continually challenge ourselves to learn something new. And based on the findings of the studies, we arrived at the following conclusions and recommendations. Notwithstanding the drastic changes brought by the pandemic to libraries, academic librarians in Region 7 have found new ways to cope up and innovate to continually serve their users. Despite the challenges they've encountered, they have persevered and managed to deliver their information literacy program successfully. They have utilized new platforms, employed new methods, and added timely information literacy topics tailored to the new normal needs of their users. Moving forward, the researchers recommend that more qualitative studies should be done on the topic to fill the gap in literature, particularly on the subjective experiences of academic librarians. The study can be conducted to other locales and may use interpretive phenomenology study designed to dig deeper on the subject matter. For the implications of our study, the findings of the study can be a basis for intervention and improvement which can help libraries and librarians be more equipped if the same scenario occurs in the future. The content or topics of the information literacy programs identified in the study can be benchmarked by other libraries. Other libraries can use the presented methods and ways of teaching or promoting information literacy as a reference in formulating their own information literacy programs. The findings of the study can benefit future researchers of the topic of information literacy education delivery, particularly on the lived experience of academic libraries. Here are our references that we've used for our study. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. For further questions and clarifications, you may contact us through the emails presented on your screen. Once again, we'd like to thank all of the participants for listening and have a great morning.
Thank you very much, Sir Ivan Dan Regidor. And also thank you also to Miss Mary Weslin Cone. So we're ready with your questions. It struck me very well yung sa topic kanina on misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. And the different approaches for the IN, Information Literacy Campaign. Actually, we're doing that already. So we have a question here from Laila Ariate. What do you believe are the most effective approaches to the development of information literacy education under the new pandemic norm?
Thank you, sir, Martin, for reading the question, and thank Ms. Lalia for the question. Good morning, everyone. Regarding the question, what do we believe as the most effective approach to the development of information literacy education under the new normal, under the new pandemic norm? Basically, as what was presented, the best approach is to utilize the social media platforms or the online platforms and maximize the use of such platforms in delivering IL education. Because basically, as what was also presented, our users or our clients are there, so we have to reach out and we have to communicate and be interactive with our clients to have an effective IL education or to teach them IL. And then, okay, Sir Martin, should I read the second question?
Thank you. We're ready for the second question. Siguro sa Q&A, kasi dito sa chat box, I have from Catherine Arapok. Nice research. Congratulations to you colleagues. And from Jason Ayala, thank you. I'll look at the Q&A. From Ana Loriza Sahona. Hello to the authors. How were you able to prepare and equip yourselves, teaching librarians, to be able to acquire the teaching competencies designed for a virtual setting during the pandemic, since you all knew that you will be transitioning your IL delivery to virtual? Thank you for your sharing. Sir?
Thank you, Sir Martin. Okay, thank you, Ms. Anna, for the question. So as what was also presented, one of the challenge that was brought up by our participants is that they were actually have there was a challenge because we're not able to be equipped with the teaching, what do you call this? The competencies of teaching, especially in the distance learning setup. Now, regarding the question, how were we able to prepare and equip ourselves? Basically through researching or finding ways by ourselves to look for new ways uh, online. Okay. Also ask our senior colleagues, ask our mentors, okay, and also our directors or chief librarians as to how we'll be able to effectively deliver IL education in the pandemic setting.
Thank you, Professor Miranda, for that answer. We have another question from an anonymous attendee. Hello. In these modern times, using of social media platforms is really rampant. How do we convince or even enlighten the young ones to believe primary information than relying on the secondary and tertiary information provided by the Facebook and other social media platforms? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sir Martin. Okay, with this question, we believe that the more convincing or what do you call effective approach for us is not only by correcting our millennials or our young ones, in social media. We have to make sure that we empathize or we acknowledge, what they learn or the information that they have, and then we try to interject in the most, in the most, uh, if I'll say, caring way or the most soft way for them not to be offended when we correct them. It would also help if you will use our social media accounts to provide information, or if we found um, inaccurate information, then we try to address them. Okay, we try to address that particular misinformation without embarrassing that person or the source of that information. Okay, but it would also be help if you know that person, then you can just PM or you can message that one directly, to also educate them to not only with the right information, but on how to evaluate by themselves.
Thank you very much. Siguro the keyword there is to evaluate the right information. No, Sir Miranda. Then let me try to go to the chat box before going to the Q&A box. We have here from Menes, very good research. From Sarah Jean, congratulations, Mary, Wesley, Dan, and Aaron. From Maria Wilma, thank you for sharing your paper, authors. Congratulations. And then let's go to the chat, the Q&A. Another one from the anonymous attendee. How could we identify or verify that information we read online are fake news or legit? Legitimate, legit.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Sir Martin, again for reading the question. Okay. Regarding this question, we go back to the information literacy basics. Okay. We have to make sure to apply what we've learned. We have to make sure that aside from looking into the source or the author of that information, we have to check, if the authority, okay, the recency, the crap test, basically. Okay, currency, reliability, accuracy. I believe that's authority, and then I forgot the P. Okay, so definitely the crap test can definitely help us librarians since we are the information specialists. We should be the one, uh, you know, we should be the source of accurate information, or we should, or it is our responsibility to correct or to promote legit information as in the section. So we have to familiarize ourselves with the different ways to evaluate information, and one of those is the CRAP test, which is part of our information literacy program. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Miranda. There's another question. I think I was left without from anonymous attendee again. How effective is your IL session in using the platform?
All right. So far, regarding the effectivity of the platform that was used, based also on the feedback from our participants and from our first-hand experience, it was actually effective. For example, in the Facebook or in using Facebook pages, because we're able to interact and communicate with our clients directly. Because again, they are present in social media sites. And then with the use of virtual conferencing platforms like Zoom and Google Meet, we're able to address the concern in terms of the restrictions of having physical contact. So we were able to maximize the use of such platforms and deliver IL education.
Thank you for that. Again, another question from Catherine Arapo. How can you differentiate the on-site IL from the off-site IL or remote IL? How can you assess the engagement of the stakeholders?
Okay, so with this question, aside from the setup, itself, where we don't have physical contact with our user, we can assess the engagement of our stakeholders first, basically in on-site, like through their participation, through how they react with our session, but also with different evaluations. Same with offsite or remote. We have evaluation, okay, but definitely there's a challenge in terms of how we are assured that they are there listening, okay. But definitely to assess, we can have evaluation forms or evaluation techniques to also understand or to investigate if the IL delivery was effective, or then in terms also of the engagement.
Thank you, sir. We have another question from Ana Loriza Sahona. Did you consider exploring the Utagogy as a new strategy in virtual?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Anna. Thank you again, Sir Martin, for reading the question. Yes, definitely. Since Utagogy is also known as self-determined learning, okay, or basically a student-centered instructional strategy. Well, as what also was mentioned by Ms. Coley earlier in a study, that definitely students understood that they have a responsibility to learn by themselves, okay, they are or that they have or that they need to have more effort for them to be able to learn in the virtual setup. And then with regards to student-centered instructional strategy, yes, definitely, yes, we believe, or we um, believe in that concept, the utagogy. But so far, honestly, okay, utagogy is a new term, but definitely the concept of self-determined learning is we already considered that. Thank you.
Thank you again for that answer, Professor Miranda. URISI, self-learning. The next question is from Menes C. Is there a technology to check whether the information is a fake news?
We have our information specialists, information librarian that are having or that are um, creating fact-checking websites. Okay, there are fact checkers on Facebook. If you search in Google, there are fact-checking databases or websites that can definitely help you. Okay, with regards to identifying which are fake news. Okay, but definitely it is very important that we as librarians firsthand should be able to identify if that's fake, especially with glaring inaccuracies, the authorities and all. Again, you really should use the craft test for us to make sure that we identify by ourselves fake news. But definitely there are fact-checking sites. You may also use, I forgot that was mentioned in the previous conference, but there are fact-checking websites and social media, and also when you search into Google, there are fact-checking sites by authoritative information specialists such as librarians. Thank you.
Thank you. Another question from an anonymous attendee. In higher education, what would be a good performance task to assess critical thinking of students?
Okay. for us or for me, in higher education, the very good performance task is basically while you are teaching or you are delivering the IL education for that particular program, you have to give them examples or show examples, accurate or concrete examples as to how they would want to, or they can evaluate information. So demonstration, especially online, because just presenting facts or information would not be very effective. I think that would be a great help to enhance the critical thinking of our students.
Thank you, sir. I think there's a last question here. How do you collaborate with faculty in teaching IL education among students?
All right, this is very important question, especially in the distance learning setup, where the faculty are the ones who are definitely, or since before the pandemic, they are our partners, as what was mentioned by our previous speakers. They are our partners in delivering IL education. So how we can collaborate is, aside from the connection that we already have even before the pandemic, where we tap them. On giving us schedules or in collaborating or incorporating, allocating schedules or time for IL education, we can also make sure that our teachers or educators are well equipped, because they can't teach what they don't have, or they can't give what they don't have. So we have to make sure they are also properly educated in terms of information literacy. I think that would be very effective.
Thank you. We have one more. Do you think social media platforms should be accountable in the spread of misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation? How would this accountability would help the IL advocacy?
Okay. We have first, again, thank you, Sir Martin, for reading the question. Okay. So with the online or with the social media platforms, we have to understand that not only are misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation are there are also accurate information. Okay. So we have to make sure, because our social media, again, we are in the age where anyone can publish in their own timeline any information. Now, with regards to the accountability, personally, I think it should be with the one who posted that particular information. Because so for example, Facebook, they have fact checkers, they have employed personnel or technology that would definitely debunk those false information. But in terms of accountability, personally, it should be with the one who posted that information. Okay, and also once those are debunked, once the person is already held accountable, then that will definitely help the IL advocacy, because it will not only educate our clients, but also the entire but the community that are present on social media platforms.
Thank you. I remember because we're talking about posting. No? Anybody can post kasi in the social media. That's the problem. No? And you were saying na parang we should be the ones controlling our but it's hard dahil nakikita ko sa Facebook yung mga memes, yung mga they're just posting because they need content and they need people to do it. So that's really a need for yung sinasabi mo nga, collaboration and proper information with dissemination for what is good and what is not correct information. Anyway, there are other questions. Are there certain laws for those sharing fake news in social media? Yun yung pinag-usapan natin.
Okay, I believe there's an intellectual property. Oh, no. What was that again? Let's see here. Get a particular, but definitely there is a law, because the government are have the capability to trace and also to make that person accountable, especially on spreading fake news or unreliable news. But what was that law again? I forgot. But there's definitely a law covering
I think it's about information, kasi you can see that there are some people who are being sued for spreading fake news, di ba?
Yes, sir, definitely. That's
So definitely
the
there's
main.
a law on sharing fake news. And because there's people who are being sued on it.
Yes,
There's
yes,
another,
definitely.
there's
But
another
I can't.
question. O yun,
Sige, sige.
nakalimutan din. Alam mo, pag ganyang ano tayo, nararattle, we tend to forget very
Cybercrime.
basic information. Eh.
Yes.
Uh,
I
there's
believe it's
an,
cybercrime prevention law.
yeah,
Okay.
the
Thank you very
cybercrime.
much, Hannah. Okay.
Oo,
All right.
tama. Cybercrime, tama. But do you think those social media platforms do enough safeguards with regards to misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation?
Personally, I believe it's very challenging for them because as what we mentioned by Sir Martin, or as what was mentioned by Sir Martin earlier, we or anyone can publish or post information online. But in terms of if it's enough, for me personally, as what was observed, it is not. They have to do more because the proliferation of information is really fast that they have to cope up. Because again, anyone can post, and there are millions of people who are, posting those information. So definitely, that's why we have to come in also as information specialists. And there are librarians, our senior librarians also are there to help debunk those information.
Thank you, sir. There's another question. Do you think Facebook fact checker is reliable?
Personally, um, let's see here. Those fact checkers are, or in terms of technology and the people that they hire, I believe they have qualifications, or but if it's in terms of reliability, um, yeah, I guess personally, okay, yes, it is reliable, but there are also those fact checkers on Facebook that are only naming themselves fact checkers. Definitely, they're not. Okay, they're not experts or they're not information specialists. So we have to also be careful with that. It doesn't mean that the name of the page is the fact checking information, or if they associate or describe themselves as fact checkers, that we already believe that. So we have to also investigate by ourselves.
Okay, so let me go through the chat box kasi I think there's some comments there that we were not able to share. Anyway, we still have time. 2 minutes at least before the coffee break. Pero we can extend kasi we started a little late naman. No? Siguro they can have their coffee while we're discussing. From Rennie said, suggestion lang po, sir, can you measure effectiveness of your IL through getting feedback survey from your client?
Yes, definitely. I think that is the best option or the best way that we can gather or that we can determine the effectivity of our IL programs to ask for feedback.
There's another comment. And Ms. Hona said, thank you. Utagoji is inclined for virtual, syempre. Maria Wilma, we librarians should be relentless in helping our students, patron, fight fake news. They are exposed to all types of information 24/7, and libraries should try to make available information literacy programs, education for health, and proper guidance. Okay, so kay Virgie Reconalia naman, the topic is very important, reminding us all again the what and how of our IL delivery to our clients in this challenging time. Thank you for sharing your papers. From Ma'am Tess Hernandez. Hi, Ma'am. Very interesting and useful reference in planning IL programs to different levels of library users. Congratulations from Ma'am Tess Hernandez Calmo. From Sarah Jean, that is why librarians need to be vigilant also in sharing information for us to be trusted by our school or from everyone. So si Hannah sabi niya cyber libel, but somebody said na there's no law yet but a bill draft yet. Hopeful will pass in Congress. Cyber libel is a different provision of law. Pero that's some people are being sued for spreading the fake news. Good trends is also reliable. Evelyn, mga Lily, Republic Act 11469 fake news is a crime. So thank you, Miss Evelyn, for that.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I
Thank you,
think that's
everyone.
all the comments and that's all the questions that we have for today. Anybody'd like to, baka meron pa kayong last comment? Yes, sir.
By the way, sir, I have one thing or one more thing. For our to our information specialists, our librarians, we have to be very careful, as what was mentioned in the comments. We should be the in the forefront of debunking those misinformation, malinformation, disinformation. We have to be careful not to share. As librarians, we have to also evaluate information. We don't have, because it will affect our credibility as librarians and as information specialists. That's why we have to be equipped. And again, use craft tests. That would really help. A simple way to evaluate information. Right? I guess that's it for us.
Thank
Sir
you very
Martin.
much, Professor Miranda. Thank you very much, Sir Ivan, Dan Redor, and Miss Mary Wesley Cole. Sa apat na picture, tatlo tayo naka-red. So it's a red day.
Yes, sir. Thank you
The
very much.
background is yellow. Sayang, kulang ng pink para kompleto na tayo. So if there's any other question, and if there's none, I think we'll need to go to a coffee break before we. First, I need the go signal from my other board of directors. Should we go now for a coffee break? Before the coffee break, let me read the certificate. PAARL, in partnership with Elsevier, presents this certificate of appreciation to Miss Mary Wesley N. Cole and also to Mr. Chrysler Aaron Miranda and Mr. Irvin Dan M. Rehido. In grateful recognition and sincere appreciation for sharing their invaluable time, knowledge, and expertise as speakers at the 2022 PAARL National Summer Conference with the theme Catalysts for Change, Transforming Library Services, Collections, and Communities in Times of Challenges, held via Zoom on 29 April 2022, signed by our Vice President and Conference Chair, Ms. Kimberly Ann O. Soria, and signed by our President, Sharon S. Samaniego. Thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, PAARL.